a story about the Chofetz Chaim, Harvey, a story about the Chofetz Chaim. You know, the Chofetz Chaim, whenever a new thing came, technology would come out, they bring it to the Chofetz Chaim. And they would ask the Chofetz Chaim, what does the Torah mind say about this? So when they came out with the telephone, so they brought him and they explained to him what the telephone was, so on and so forth, that you speak here and you're able to speak to a person in long distances. So they said, so what does the Rebbe understand from this? That what you say here is able to be heard elsewhere. Regarding Lashon Hara, we think between us, somebody's listening. Okay, that's what he says. So when they laid tracks not far from where Rodden to have the train, the locomotive, to go near his area, so they took him to the train and they lifted him into the cab of the locomotive. And the old days, you had a furnace there. You had people shoveling the fuel, the coal into the furnace, and that would, whatever it is, create, with the turbines and so on and so forth. And, they explained them, and they said, and the cars that were pulled, he said, the front car, the locomotive is called the hot car. The cars that are pulled by the locomotive are called the cold cars. So the hot car pulls the cold cars. So he says, so what does the turbine, what are we able to draw from this? So Chofetz Chaim said in Yiddish, which of course he spoke Yiddish, he says, from here we're able to learn, as ein kalta can schleppen a 10,000 kalta. Ein heisa can schleppen a 10,000 kalta. That if you have one person that has the ability to inspire, he can inspire thousands of cold ones. You just need the inspiration. I'm just bringing out the point. He had the ability to ignite and inspire people to understand what they had. And in Torah, they surpassed him. They became greater Talmud Chacham, whatever, but that wasn't it. He was the inspirer. He inspired them. Okay? Back to Samach Beis. Samach Aleph. The Mishnah. Okay, we're speaking about Tanai Kofel. That if you transact something, whatever it is, whether it's marriage, whether it's monetary, which is a question, or anything, if it's contingent on a condition, Rameir's position is you have to speak out both sides of the condition. Rameir Roma called Tanai she'enu Tanai b'nei Gad b'nei Ruvain Tanai. Any condition which doesn't meet the criteria of the condition of b'nei Gad b'nei Ruvain, it's not considered a condition. Shenemar, what does the Torah say? Just to give you the background, we discussed it yesterday, that the Bnei Gad, Bnei Reuven, all the Jews were on the Transjordan side. And as we discussed yesterday, conquest is an acquisition. So the Transjordan side of the portion of Sichon and Og belonged to the Jews because they conquered it. The Bnei Gad, Bnei Reuven had flocks and herds. They needed grazing lands. So they come to Moshe and say, something. We have no interest in our portion in Canaan. We prefer to stay here. And we're willing to pass on our rights to Canaan. So Moshe at first thought that this is a repeat of the Meraglim, that their position will discourage the other Jews going in, and it was clarified that they said we're willing to go with our brothers and fight and conquer, and then we'll return. So Moshe said to them, V'yom aleim, im yavru b'nei Gad b'nei Ruvain. If the members of the tribe of Gad and Ruvain, they crossed the Jordan to fight and to lead the battle, then the Transjordan side will be yours. Then he said, V'im lo yavru chalutzim, and if they don't cross to lead the battle, then it will not be yours. Seemingly, it's sufficient to say the first side. If you go and cross, it will be yours. So what's the inference? That if you don't go, it won't be yours. But yet Moshe Rabbeinu had to say the second side of the condition. And if you don't go, it won't be yours. Seemingly, it's totally superfluous. So evidently, so what are the laws of condition? It's not sufficient to say just one side, and we say, based on inference, we understand the second side, but rather to be conditioned that we should follow through in terms of what you want. To undo the act or the gift, you have to speak out both sides of the condition. That's the position of Rameir. That's called Tanai Kofel. It's a double-sided condition. Reb Chanin ben Gamliel omer tzorach hadov el omro. No. That Moshe Rabbeinu had to say the second side of condition is unrelated to the laws of condition. Because the inference is not obvious and clear. It's not obvious. Why? Because I would have thought if he wouldn't have spoken out the second side of the condition, what was the sentence? And he says, and if you don't go across, then what does he say? Then he says, then you will have a portion among your brothers in Canaan. If he didn't say that, I would have thought, you know something? Since you have no interest in Canaan, you forfeited your position in Canaan. You'll have neither. You won't have the Transjordan side, and you're not going to have Canaan either. You'll have nothing. So therefore, he had to say, even if you don't go and lead the battle, your portion in Canaan will not be forfeited, although you already stated your position that Canaan is not important to you. You'd say, that's enough, we penalize you. Okay, let's see the Gemara. So the Gemara says, Shapa Kamali Rab Chanina ben Gamliel Rab Meir. Good, Ernie, you're okay? He's a Tana. He's a contemporary Rab Meir. He's not mentioned in Shas very often. So what? He's a Tana. No, what do you mean following? Tanai Kofel. Who said you don't need a Tanai Kofel? Shabbat Kamalei Reb Chanina Gamliel Reb Meir. Seemingly, his response is what? Is a valid response. So what is the position of Reb Meir? That Reb Meir is steadfast in his position. No, we're able to draw from this Tanai Kofel. Amalach Reb Meir. So Reb Meir says, if the second statement of Moshe Rabbeinu, when he said, and if you don't go, you will not receive your portion on the Transjordan side, but you will receive your portion in Canaan. He could have said like this, and if you don't cross, he could have said, you will receive your achuzah among your brothers, among yourselves. You receive a portion like yourselves. What do you have to add? Eretz Canaan, in the land of Canaan. Eretz Canaan, normally, that's superfluous. He could have said, if you cross, then the Transjordan side is all yours. If you don't cross, then you'll have a chuzah among yourselves, meaning among the Jewish people. What do you have to add? Eretz Canaan. The words Eretz Canaan are superfluous, because where are the rest of the Jews receiving their portion? In Canaan. So what do you have to add? Eretz Canaan. Those extra words, Eretz Canaan, comes to teach us that you have to speak out the second side of the condition. Otherwise, the condition is not a condition.
Otherwise, you might have thought, what? Had they failed in the first condition, they would still be part of the condition in the land?
Again.
No, what's the...
We would think maybe we should penalize them and not give them anything in Canaan.
Correct.
So by saying, that's enough to understand they're not penalized. They will receive a portion among yourselves, meaning among the Jewish people. What do we have to speak a location where the rest of them receiving their portion? It's obvious they're receiving the Canaan. So what does it have to say, Eretz Canaan? The extra words that say no, you have to say that full second statement unless, and if you don't, it's not considered a condition. Unless Moshe fully expressed the second side of the condition, it's not a condition.
If he would have expressed it the way it says in the Sophrachem, he would still have fulfilled the two sides of the condition.
No.
So he wouldn't have taught us anything.
No, you don't need. Maybe inference is sufficient. Except in this context, I don't have inference because I would think maybe we should penalize them. Right? But you don't have a proof that this tonight that's tonight awful, right? You don't have to, from there you don't have an indication. You have to speak on two sides of a condition. This is for clarification. If you wouldn't have said that second statement, what would have I thought? Neither. Not the Transjordan side, and not in Canaan either, because we penalize you. So you have to say v'nosu b'sochem. No, despite the fact that you made your statement, you're not going to be penalized. But what do we need Eretz Canaan? Because the Torah only shares with us information. This is the first time the Torah is presenting a condition. I mean, the Gemara is going to cite other instances, right? What does Torah have to say? Tell us exactly what Moshe Rabbeinu did, how he expressed the condition. Evidently, the Torah is sharing this with us, that we're able to draw something from this, right? Otherwise, it's totally superfluous. There's nothing superfluous in the Torah.
It could be that they had the option of one or A or B, and that was it.
But if it's inferred, then it's totally, there's no reason. There's nothing superfluous in the Torah. Torah only writes something because it's necessary to write it, because if it wasn't written, I wouldn't have known it. But if inference is sufficient, it's inferred. You'll get your portion in the Transjordan side if you cross. So what's the inference? And if you don't, you won't get it. Mer says no, because that inference is not sufficient. Because I would think maybe we should penalize them. Transjordan side, it's understood they're not going to get, but maybe they shouldn't receive the portion in Canaan. So that, Reb Chanan ben Gamliel is responding. He says no, but it says v'nochsu b'chosochem. That's obvious from that statement alone. They wouldn't forfeit their portion in Canaan. So what do we need? Beretz Canaan. So those extra words, Beretz Canaan comes to teach me, no, that you have to speak out the second side of the condition, that it should be considered a valid condition.
The purpose of what I'm going to say, let's get out of the question. Just talk about the deal between human beings. At this point in time, they've got Eretz Canaan, which they're going to all get, and they've got the Transjordan. They've got both, by the laws of contract. So now, in order to make a deal, the Klal Yisrael have to give up Transjordan, and the tribe of Reuben and Gad have to give up their share in Eretz Canaan. That's the deal.
No, not give up. They're not going to get their share.
Well, it's a trade.
No, but they're not going to get. They're going to conquer Canaan. Until they conquer Canaan.
I understand that. The end result is there's a trade. I'm prepared. I'm Reuben Gad. I'm prepared to trade what I've got, my designated portion in Eretz Canaan, in exchange for this. Now the Klal Yisrael have to agree to that.
No,
Because
they don't have to agree. God is part of the equation here.
No, I understand.
No, but no, I understand that. Let's say they don't agree. Let's say Moshe says what he says. They say, we don't agree. We don't agree. We will not relinquish our portion.
No, I'm just saying, in order for the transaction to take place, this
Agree or don't agree, it's happening. The transfer, if they go, it will be theirs.
you're not in the same way.
Exactly. I know. I understand that. Maybe because you left God out of it. Okay. Okay.
I own something. I have to relinquish something to make the trade. If they own something or they've got an inheritance, they have to relinquish it. So both parties have to relinquish something in order to get something else. And the territory in Eretz Canaan that was originally designated for Reuben and Gad, that had to be redistributed among the other tribes.
Correct.
That's what's going on over here. But the deal is you have to participate in the conquest
Correct.
for that to happen. Now, if they don't participate in the conquest, now we're doing what then?
That's our question.
What's then? What
Okay.
then is gonna happen?
So that's what we're
I would
discussing.
say-
Yeah.
I would say, if you didn't help conquer the land of Israel, then maybe you don't deserve any part and you couldn't make the trade with them.
Not only, but we say you're not even going to receive your portion, even in the Transjordan side.
That's right. I'm not relinquishing my own.
No. But even
Even in Transjordan.
no, even Reuben God will not have a portion even in the Transjordan side.
I agree. Or what I might do for you is I'm going to still own the Transjordan side. I'm speaking as it's Klal Yisrael. I still own it, and I'll let you have residential rights there, but you have no property rights. So this Eretz Canaan is coming to say that won't happen. We don't want them over there with just sort of renters in that territory. You can be renters in Eretz.
No.
How do you know that that's not?
The word achuza. What is the v'nochsu b'sochachem? You will have a portion among you. Meaning, as the rest of Klaus will have a portion, you will have a portion.
Fine. But you relinquish, you have zero portion in Transjordan, and that belongs to all the other tribes.
Again.
Because that's still part of the territory. That's ownership. Maybe it's coming to teach us.
Again,
that they're giving up
let's
the
discuss the
Transjordan.
context, keeping God out of it. The context of the discussion. We would like our portion should be on the Transjordan side. Moshe says, if you go, and we're willing to go, he says, if you're willing to go across and fight with your brothers, then your portion will be in the Transjordan side. And if
They're saying
not,
they're saying more than that. They're saying we want Klal Yisrael to give up its right to Transjordan, and we will give up our
Okay. Right? Okay. That's exactly what they're saying. So what does Moshe say to them? So what does Moshe say? If you cross, it'll be fine. If you don't cross, then your portion will be among your brothers. What does that mean? That means Transjordan it will be an asset. It will not be considered part of your achuza. Achuza is something. Achuza means this is your rightful portion. Where is going to be your rightful portion? Among your brothers.
And now, what's the status of the Transjordan?
It's an asset. It's an asset. It's everybody's asset.
Right, maybe that relinquish that. Maybe that's what Moshe is saying.
Why? But we're talking about achuza. We're not discussing. When they asked, they said, we want our achuza, our portion, to be on Transjordan side. Portion means what is Canaan. This should be the equivalent of Canaan, not as a monetary ownership. It's our portion, meaning that this is considered the equivalent of Eretz Yisrael, the Transjordan side.
What's the penalty? So what's the penalty for the not?
Wait. I would say that since you had no interest in Canaan, you forfeit everything.
So the Torah is saying
Neither location.
so maybe the penalty you wanted.
No, which means which means Transjordan may remain an asset, but it's definitely not going to be a portion. It's like the Jews didn't want to leave Egypt. We know what happened to them? They died during the days of darkness. Then no Jew remains behind. That's it. No Jew has a portion any other location other than Israel. You can say, I can't own property in Europe. I can own property. That's an asset. But as a portion, a Jew only has a portion in Eretz Yisrael.
Maybe it's coming to tell us that they are relinquishing their right in that asset in Transjordan. It belongs to the other.
Why should we say that? Why should we say that?
Because
It's still a conquest.
no, but it doesn't.
But what did they ask? They asked for one thing that should be their asset. We want it to be our portion.
They basically enlarged their Yisrael.
So where's
I mean, if it's their portion, it should be good. It's considered part of their Yisrael.
It is. It's
Right.
considered to a degree, but it's even more than that.
enlarged it. Had
They
they
took
not done
everything,
this-
but we'll see. The Gemara is going to discuss this thing. Well, with the penalize, you think maybe they'll get, initially what they asked was for everything. Maybe Hashem says, you could have what you would have received in the Canaan, you would receive that equivalent on the Transjordan side. Not get everything. That will be your portion. I mean, the Gemara, that's what he's going to respond. Therefore, even Eretz Canaan is not so simple.
It just seems very odd that here too, at this whole Sinai conversation, that you fight, you get this, and if you don't fight, you get.
No.
They're
First, Tosas explains, wait, that has nothing bending over backwards. I mean, Tosas explains, Rashi learns one way. Tosas has a problem with Rashi. Rashi says, and if you don't go across, you will receive your portion of Canaan. So Tosas asks, you mean to say, then they don't participate in the conquest, and they're going to get their portion?
where's the consequence?
No.
Where's
The consequence is you lose the Transjordan side. That'll be the top. But still, why should you receive a portion? You didn't participate in the conquest.
No punishment.
No, forget about the punishment. But why do you have a right? The right is because you're part of the conquest. You're not part of the conquest. So Tosas explains, what did he say to them? Im Yavne Godvne Ruvain, he says, Chalutzim. What's Chalutzim? They're leading the battle. They're leading the battle. If you go and cross and lead the battle, not only as your conquerors like everyone else is in the conqueror, they themselves have the ability to lead the battle. They're very powerful, God and Ruvain. If you lead the battle, then you will have the Transjordan. If not, then you'll receive an ordinary portion like everyone. If you fight like everybody else, then you can receive an ordinary portion. But if you lead the battle, then you'll have what you're asking.
And if they don't participate at all,
Then that was never even a consideration. That wasn't even a consideration they wouldn't participate. Then definitely they would get nothing. There wouldn't be consideration they would get anything if they don't.
we know that.
Of course, that the Tosa says, if you don't participate in the conquest, why do you deserve anything? That was not even a consideration to feel you deserve something where you don't participate. That's not even a consideration. Rashi himself learns differently. That even if they don't participate, because you have that right, and the others conquer, you get your piece. We'll see Rashi and Tosas. We'll see Rashi and Tosas. We've gone to Shvatim. We're talking about it as tribes. Correct. Because it's divided among the tribe. No. If your tribe fought, being part of the tribe, you have a right. What? Not because they weren't meant to get a land. Because God says Levi receives no share in the land. Do you have a problem because you're a Levi? Okay, I hear it. I understood it. There's the Freudian slip over here.
Because the Mashiach Muhammad would always tell them.
Okay, we'll learn Sota, we'll learn Mashiach Muhammad. I'm not going to learn Kol HaTorah Kula right now. Just let's get back to the text. So right now, Reb Meir says, according to what Reb Chanina ben Gamliel says, he had to say it because I would say, how would we know they would receive their share in Canaan? So Reb Meir says it would have been sufficient to say, you receive your achuzah among them. Be'eretz Canaan lo malik. Why did Moshe Rabbeinu have to say in the land of Canaan to identify the location? We know where the location is. Shmami no litnai kofel hudosa. So evidently it's clear to tell me that you have to speak out the second side of the condition, otherwise the condition is not a condition. Okay? So, wait, yes he does. That's next line. Reb Chanina ben Gamliel, so Reb Chanina ben Gamliel responds, what does the Torah have to write? Eretz Canaan. Right? Why is it not superfluous? Ilu kosav Rachmana be'eretz Canaan hava amino. If it wouldn't have written Eretz Canaan hava amino, then no subsochem be'eretz Gilot. Al Eretz Canaan klal lo. I would think, if it doesn't Eretz Canaan, I would think, where would you receive your portion? On the Transjordan side. Eretz Gilot is the Transjordan side. But what degree will you? What would be the size of that portion? The no subsochem. It will be the equivalent of your portion in Canaan. The equivalent of your portion, they requested we want all Eretz Gilad, meaning even the portion of the rest of the tribes. If he says, you'll receive your rightful portion, but where? On the Transjordan side, which would have been the equivalent of what you received in Canaan. If you go and cross and fight, let's say like you lead the battle, the whole Transjordan side is yours. And if not, where will you receive your portion? On the Transjordan side, to what degree? The equivalent of what you receive in Canaan. However, Canaan you don't receive. Why? Because since you rejected it, you had no interest, we penalize you, you're not going there. There you will not get a portion. They retained. The rest of Klal Yisrael, they retained their portion. That will be theirs. They'll have both places. Maybe not as a chuzah, not as an achuzah, but it'll be theirs. Okay? Take a look at Rashi. Reb Chanina, Omaloch le'olam lobo lichpol. The second statement of Moshe Rabbeinu is not to tell me you have to repeat the other side of the condition. You have to write Canaan that they will not lose their portion in Eretz Yisrael. If it wouldn't have written Eretz Canaan, I would have thought Havamina im lo yavru yitlu kefi hamagiyom be'eretz hagilod shru chasem tebo. Meaning, when you originally conquered Gilad, God and Reuven, they had their portion. That portion you retain, but the rest of it you're not getting. You're not going to receive a portion in Eretz Canaan. Eretz Gilad kenegdo. And Eretz Gilad, the equivalent of what you received. You know what he's saying? He's saying, Rashi's saying, adding another part. When they were on the Transjordan side, all Klal Yisrael conquered. So what were the portions? Where each one was? You would think maybe now that if you don't cross, what are you going to get? We'll give you an additional portion because there's going to be an exchange now. What would have you gotten in Canaan? An additional portion, right? You would have gotten that. You're not. So that's going to be distributed. Your portions are going to be distributed among the rest of them. So now there'll be an exchange that in addition to your portion that you have until now, we're going to compensate you with another portion because your portion is being distributed among the other tribes. So your portion will get larger, but you're not getting the whole Transjordan side. You following? Let's say their portion is a square mile in Canaan. So in addition to what you have in Gilad, we'll add a square mile as an exchange for what you would have gotten. On that, so therefore, he has to say, B'sochechem. There it's Canaan. No, when you receive your portion, not you're going to get an additional portion on the Transjordan side to be the equivalent of what you would have gotten in Canaan, but rather, Gilad, you will receive nothing as a portion. Where's your portion to be? In Eretz Canaan. So if that's the case, Moshe Rabbeinu had to say the second side, the second statement, because it wouldn't have been clear what they would have received. I would have thought maybe the additional portion would have been on the Transjordan side.
They conquered this land. All of the Israel people that conquered land.
Wherever they settled, that was theirs.
And in the Transjordan.
Now they move out. Now they move out.
Why are they moving out?
Because they're going across the Jordan to cross.
Then no one should have that land.
Wait a second. What if, once you conquer, it's yours.
Right, so who, you conquered, it's yours, but you're going, are we keeping that land? Is it
Yes, we're going to keep it, but not as Eretz Yisrael. Not as Eretz Yisrael. It's
conquered land under the auspices
of the Jewish people. But each one has their portion. In that land, each one has their portion. Now, if you don't go across, you know what your portion is going to be? There, what you have, plus we're going to give you in exchange for what you would have received in Canaan. That's what I could have thought. Extra, in addition, meaning, but where's that extra piece coming from? It's coming from all of theirs. Because just as their portion in Eretz Yisrael is going to be redistributed among the rest of them, so we're going to give in exchange on the Transjordan side. So therefore, Chanim ben Leil says, therefore, Moshe has to be very specific. That's incorrect. Transjordan side, you're receiving nothing. Nothing in addition. Where will you receive your portion? In Canaan itself.
So what was the inherent benefit from each tribe settling where they meant to settle? Was there something special about that piece of land for that shevet?
Sure.
So why would Reuben and God want to give that up?
Because they needed the grazing lands. They had tremendous herds and flocks. They said, we prefer to stay here because...
They would rather give up that spiritual...
Right, correct. So therefore, there's a very strong reason that they should be penalized. They should, no matter what... No.
Either valor or not, they're
No,
giving up something that...
correct. If you don't go across, we're going to penalize you. You get nothing there. You should, in Canaan, you should get nothing.
Right, but I'm asking why, regardless of what they do, even if they fight the whole war just by themselves, why would they want to give up something that has that inherent importance to their...
Because they want to they want to reside in a location where their flocks and their herds are.
And that's more important to them.
That's more important to them than Eretz Yisrael.
So shouldn't there...
If you remember, see, David as Mabba said very well, he remembers this. When originally they said, we're going to build corrals and barns for our cattle and houses for our family, homes for our family. Moshe Rabbeinu says you got your priorities backwards. First you talk about securing your families. Then you talk about your assets. And that was an indication that they valued their money more than they valued themselves. So you're right, they're willing to give it all up for their wealth.
Right, so isn't there some sort of detriment associated with that way of thinking, regardless of what they do?
Sure, you're right. That's what the Medrash says. The reason why they were exiled first, why did they fail? Why were they more attracted to the material? And when Sancherib exiled the tribes, they were the first ones to go, because this problem was festering from the time they requested to stay on the Transjordan side, that they valued their material more than their spirituality.
So why did God say yes? Why did he say, you don't understand what you're missing, and I'm not going to allow you to do it?
We don't second guess God. You know, that's part of the Bechira. That's part of the Bechira. Chatzi Shem Menashe. You have to see the Ramban. Of course, you see over there, Menashe never made a request. Right? And yet they're there, Chatzi Shem Menashe. Okay, let's go further. Wait. Rebbeir, let's read inside. Let's read the text. Besochem kolecha di isluchum lemishma. Rameir says no. From Benochim Besochem indicates sufficiently. It means Canaan. So therefore, the words Eretz Canaan are superfluous. So why did Torah write Eretz Canaan? To tell us that when you state a condition, both sides have the kiddushin have to be fully stated. Otherwise, what is Eretz Canaan written? Okay? Rabbi Chaim disagrees. He says it's still ambiguous. So to make it clear exactly what he meant to say, the words Eretz Canaan had to be stated. That's the argument. Is it sufficiently clear or is it not sufficiently clear?
Doesn't have the extra two words.
Therefore, there's no...
To actually come up with a general principle of
Kofel, correct.
Did he learn tonight Kofel anywhere else?
No, he rejects the whole concept. The Torah never said tonight Kofel.
So it's only an
We read, if you study Chumash and Rashi, he mentions it many times, there's a concept known as Bichlal Lava Toshomehein, Bichlal Heina Toshomei Lav. Do we interpret the Torah based on inference? Or the Torah says, no, inference is not sufficient. You have to, the Torah speaks out both sides of the equation. Both sides. Well, if you say yes, it will be, so what? It's inferred. If not, it won't be. It's interesting. There's an Orach Chaim HaKodesh. Rein osat lefneichem hayom es hachayim es hamovis. You mean there's nothing in between? There's no interim. There's no neutral area. When it comes to one's spirituality, you either advance or you regress. There's no stagnation. That's the way it works. It's either Chaim or Movis. It's one or the other. Right? Because the Gemara later is going to ask. It says, Imbechu kosei lechu. Right? What does it say? Then you will have bounty and it says, Imbechu kosei timosu. God forbid, there's going to be tragedy. So what does Torah have to speak about the negative side? It's inferred. You're going to have blessing and bounty and so on and so forth. So what did Moshe Rabbeinu have to say? The Torah have to say, and if you detest my chukim, you're going to have tragedy. So from there we see clearly, Rameir wants to bring proof tonight, Kofel, that the only time we're deserving of tragedy if we abandon Torah, it's only because God said the second side of the condition. Otherwise it's superfluous. Moshe says, no. You get schar. But if you don't, neither. Not schar, not onish. Therefore, it has to say the second side to say no. There's no neutrality here. There's no neutral location. It's either yes, or it's either paradise, or to the extreme negative of that. Okay, we'll see. The Gemara goes through many kiddushin.
The way that I'm at this point, according to Rabbi Kalatsky, the strength of his argument is that if they don't perform, there is a consequence for them. They're worse off than they would otherwise have been. That's what he's saying.
Everybody agrees to that.
No,
But the question, wait. But how do I know that? How do I know that? No, factually the Torah states it. The Torah says it. That's how I know they'll be worse off. But the question is, wait. The Torah could have said less and I would have known. Just from saying the positive side, the negative is not inferred. Because it's too unclear. So Rameir says, but what did he have to fully say the second side? It would have been enough to say, that he had to say something other than the first side. If you cross, you will have. And if you don't cross, he could have said less rather than more. He still had to say the second side of the condition, but not for the sake of the condition, because the inference is not sufficiently clear what's being inferred. So v'nochsu b'sochem would have been sufficient to understand what exactly he meant. So what does he have to write Eretz Canaan? That's Rameir's position. But one side definitely wouldn't have been sufficient. Everybody agrees to that. Both Rameir and Rav Chanina ben Gamliel.
the way they're analyzing the situation, according to Rabbi Meir, if they do not perform and they do not go forward, they would end up in exactly the same position as if they never made the request before. That's the end result of his analysis.
After everything said, put it this way, after everything's said and done, Rameir and Rav Chanina agreed. Moshe said the same thing. But the question is, why did he have to say as much as he said? That's the question. They're not disagreeing in factually what he said to them. There's no argument in that, what he said. But how much did he have to say to understand what he said? Right? That's the discussion over here.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying there's a fundamental difference in the end result.
Only in the halacha, not in the discussion.
In
In the communication between Moshe and the Jewish people, same.
how to understand the deal.
No, same deal.
Fundamental.
No, same deal. Same deal, identical, same deal.
The way that I'm understanding it right now is that Rabbi Meir is saying if they do not performing the condition, their end result is no different versus had they said nothing in the first place, not even make in the place. They land up in exactly the same position. They've got a share there, they've got a share there.
And Rav Chanina ben Gamliel?
And Rabbi Chanina says no. There is a consequence. According to what you just said now, all they get is a little share in the Transjordan. They don't even get a
But
share.
I'm saying after Moshe, that's if Moshe wouldn't have fully expressed himself. I'm saying after he fully expressed himself to them, is there a difference in what the deal is? Same, exact same deal. If Moshe wouldn't have said the second side of the equation, what would have we understood? Right? Rameir says it would have been what they originally would have gotten. Rav Chanim says no, they wouldn't have. It would have been a whole different. It would have been a whole different arrangement. Therefore, Moshe had to express himself fully because we would have understood it differently. So Moshe had to be very clear what he meant. So for the sake of clarity, he had to say the second side, make the second statement. Rameir says no, but he didn't have to say as much. If he would have said less, I would have understood the same thing. Why did he say more? That's the argument. But after he expressed himself fully as he expressed himself, nobody's arguing what he said to them. It's only if he wouldn't have expressed himself fully, what would have I understood? Right? That's the argument to Rav Chanina ben Gamliel and Rameir. If you would have left out the words Eretz Canaan, what would have I understood? But after saying the words Eretz Canaan, I understood clearly what he said. After he said Canaan, Eretz Canaan? No, there's no the Gemara doesn't say that, what you're saying. No, there's no difference, no argument. The question is the Torah say Eretz Canaan for the sake of K'tanai Kofel, or is it because I would have thought they would relinquish their share in Canaan, and they would receive the equivalent in the Transjordan side as an exchange for what they gave up in Canaan? That's Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel. Therefore it says Eretz Canaan, no, there's no exchange, you will receive your portion in Canaan. There's no forfeiture.
The way that the status of the Transjordan, don't all the tribes own 1/12 of that area?
As an asset. If they wouldn't have gone across. But now that they did go across, the Transjordan side is fully Bnei Gad Bnei Reuven.
Now it's contemplated not go across. So every tribe has 1/12 of the Transjordan.
And every tribe has 1/12 of Eretz Yisrael.
Maybe the way, why couldn't you make an argument that what Moshe is saying to them is if you don't go across, you still keep your 1/12 in Eretz Canaan, but you relinquish your 1/12.
He doesn't say that. Doesn't say that.
Maybe that's
Where were you? You're coming up with it. He never said it. He never said that.
because he said Eretz Canaan.
No Eretz Canaan, but he didn't say you're forfeiting the Transjordan side. They said we want the total Transjordan side. Where do you say that? Where do you see that he said you're going to forfeit? You're going to forfeit to a greater degree than any other tribe gave up. You're not giving up more than any other tribe.
Because the Eretz Canaan doesn't mention.
No, because I would have thought the other way. Eretz Canaan, I would have thought you forfeit Eretz Canaan and you receive as an exchange the equivalent on the Transjordan side. Moshe says you will not forfeit your share in Canaan. To be continued.